When I got to watching Shinkalion, I had zero idea what to expect with it. Okay, that's a bit of a half-truth. I expected Shinji Ikari. You see, Shinkalion's whole gimmick is that they turn bullet trains into mechs to fight giant monsters, and since there was a bullet train modeled after Ava Unit 1, you can put two and two together. So, naturally, the train mech, or Shinkalion as they're called, practically wrote themselves. They actually have a lot more in common than you expect. Monsters called giant monstrous beings in the subtitles start appearing, and it's up to a government organization to send children in spandex to drive mechs. Did I just describe the giant robo genre in a nutshell? Maybe, but where does Hatsune Miku fit into all this? Well, episode 15. Episode 15 opens with a fitness test. In a nutshell, giant monstrous beings Team Shinkalion fights are locked within this capture field. If the capture field is broken, well, citizens of Japan and the world just discovered the existence of giant monsters and giant mechs funded by the Japanese government, and humanity is good at hitting the panic button. Also, since this is a show aimed at children, we get our first PSA from the episode. Don't binge documentaries about Shinkansens fresh out of the bath, especially when it's getting cold. So we see the antagonists, Byako and Seryu. If you're familiar with those names, the agents of the, I'm just going to throw it up on the screen, I cannot pronounce this, are named after the four great beasts of Chinese mythology, which, being China, they exported it to their neighbors. So Byako means the white tiger, and Seryu means Azure dragon. Now back to the episode, Miku spots the black particles, which always herald the giant monstrous beings, since the black particles create them. So naturally, the boys rush off to fight the monster. However, they find out it's in Hokkaido, and wait, where is Crypton Future Media, who owns Miku and a bunch of Vocaloids, located? Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Well, that certainly explains why Rin, Ren, Luca, as well as Meiko and Kaito make cameo appearances and why Miku is located here. I think your enjoyment of Shinkalion might depend on how much you like the railroad trivia and the landmarks. Trust me, there's a lot. The tunnel Hayato mentions is an actual thing, and as is the distance between where they are and Hokkaido. So, anyways, as the boys take their time getting to Hokkaido, Miku is called into battle, and Miku pilots the H5 Hayabusa and fills the role of a swordsman on Team Shinkalion. She is the dedicated swordsman, while Hayato is the main hero, and, well, heroes get swords. And, might I say, since I'm an on-again, off-again Power Rangers fan, it's a great to see a Sentai-style team have a dedicated female Blade Master. I'm putting up the Megaforce photo because I hate Megaforce, but that's not a dedicated Megaforce problem. It's a problem in all of Sentai, just in general. But anyway, you see Miku clash with the Monster of the Week, and you immediately know that she has motion sickness. And since this is Miku in H5's debut episode, she gets the character Power Up, a plot convenience where the main characters struggle in order to make Miku look better. The boys get thrashed around thanks to the environment not being stable. Oh, Hayato, the main character card will not save you right here. Instead, Miku will save your butt. She saves all their butts, actually. Miku in general is indifferent to the boys, and of course the train trivia from Hayato flows because this is a train anime. While Hayato points out superficial differences between the E5 and the H5, Miku's commander points out the heating system which is only available on the H5, which makes sense because the H5 is only available in colder climates of Hokkaido. And a very familiar scene plays out to every 11-year-old diehard fan of any franchise explaining stuff to people who aren't interested. Hayato's brain melts from Miku not being interested in his dedicated Shinkansen hobby. And if you've been following the subtitles below, you can tell she's a bit of a loner. When Team Shinkalion goes sightseeing, Miku is more annoyed and just prefers practicing kendo on a boat. And a few scenes later, she gets pissed at Hayato for getting sick to do the job. More on that in a second. So this leads into the next episode. While Hayato is sick, it leads to Miku and the boys going off to fight. And the boys get trapped, and Miku ends up needing to take the job herself. But the problem becomes apparent. As mentioned last episode, she gets motion sick very easily. Tsuranaki, the one in blue, points out that this clearly is not a good combination. This does cast a different light on her earlier attitudes towards Hayato. The comments about Hayato's inability to manage his health is her projecting her inability to manage her motion sickness, and her need for training is more than just the martial artist speaking. It's her hitting a rut in her abilities, and she's clearly frustrated at it. And since she's giving in to motion sickness, she has to withdraw. Meanwhile, the spider monster is trying to drain the energy from E6 and E7, which will give Akita, the one in red, and Tsuranaki hypothermia. Now that I thought about that for this script, that's a pretty morbid plan on Byaku's part. Meanwhile, Miku gives Hayato booze. Okay, it's not booze, she had the alcohol boiled off. So yes, confirmation that Miku was just projecting her sentiments onto Hayato. And she even tries to get Hayato to drive the H5 since it is so similar to the E5, except it has the heating system. Hayato completely rejects this because he says she's H5's driver, he's the driver of E5. He says she's not worthless because of the motion sickness. So after an apology, Hayato assures that he'll cover for her. It's a nice bit that ties into the overall theme of Shinkalion, that humanity's overcoming its weaknesses by working together. It's a cheesy moral that you've seen preached to you in a million different shows, in a million different books, and a million different, radio plays. But I originally watched this during lockdown, so it's nice to see a bit of hope even when everyone was arguing over conspiracy theories. So Hayato and Miku cut down the giant monster together, and the episode ends with them leaving Miku on good terms. Hayato going on the tangent about Shinkansen, but she's a bit more receptive this time around. Shinkalion is a fun anime. I know it's not the most complex story or the most emotionally deep, but sometimes fun works. I have heard people say that the filter put on Miku's voice actress Saki Fujita is a bit jarring even for dramatic moments, but I don't really care about that. What I found more distracting was Hayato shares a voice actress with Uraka, and you can notice it at times. And don't think the villains are exempt from this. Seiryu shares a voice with Jiro. Considering Shinkalion is also made by OLM, who also does Pokemon, Seiryu shares a voice with Lily. Yeah. That's kinda hilarious. That's it for this episode, and this is Cyril signing off. Goodbye.